Welcome, Andrew. Excited to have you here today. So just maybe to kick off a little bit, do you want to just start with the story of how you got the business going and the problem that you solve for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Thanks. And thanks for having me on the show today. I think it's a great initiative that you guys are pursuing here. So, Smoke Customer Intelligence, we started a number of years ago, over a decade ago, and the idea came to me when I was working as an article clerk in doing sort of qualifying as a CA. I realized while doing audits across a number of companies that you'd go from one organization to the next, specifically in the insurance industry, where I was spending a lot of time auditing clients. You go from one company to the next, and none of them seemed to have unique strategies as to how they were going to disrupt a market or grow new market shares and really sort of influence the market in a different way. They were all just looking to cut prices and to add gimmicks to their product. It was before the days of the bucks back bonus in insurance, but everybody was talking about that in the boardroom. And I realized that, during my auditing. And I realized, and I was just thinking, I remember thinking at the time that there's got to be something different. There's got to be something which is not product or price that's going to influence companies beating one another in the market, or one company sort of being better than another enterprise organization in the market. And the answer wasn't immediately obvious to me, but eventually it became obvious that eventually products and price are going to become ubiquitous. It's going to be this race to the bottom with price, and features with the advent and the advancement of technology. Features in products were becoming easy to replicate. So that the only place where you could start to have a competitive advantage was the way that you made your customers feel when they engaged with you. So it was sort of the new battleground of the future I saw as being the battleground of hearts for people in the world of business. So how you make people love you is you understand what they like about you and what they don't like about you, and you deliver more of what they like and less of what they don't like. And the only way you're going to find that feedback out or find that information out is by asking your customers. So that's why we decided to start a business that focused on getting feedback from clients in real time. So as soon as you had a transaction, as soon as you called a call center, as soon as you maybe processed a transaction online or via whatever channel made sense for you, you immediately received a real-time survey and were able to give feedback that the company could then take back internally and operationalize. One, to get back to you if you were unhappy, and two, to optimize product, services, and the way that they were interacting with the customers going forward. So that was sort of how the business came about. That was how the idea came about. I left my auditing job thinking that I was going to be sipping margaritas within 12 months of this great new business idea somewhere on the beach with a private yacht moored nearby. That didn't happen. It took us about a year to develop the software in its first sort of beta version, and it took us 2 years after that to make our first sale. So it definitely wasn't as smooth a ride as what I thought it would be, sort of ignorantly leaving a nice cushy accounting job, I suppose.
Awesome. So you want to tell us a little bit about how the software, you mentioned that you get customer feedback, but maybe some of the impact that it's had on some of the businesses that you work with, and then also a little bit about what size businesses you've built the software for.
Yeah, good question. So I think the impact is big, and the impact's big for businesses that choose to do something with it. So it's one thing getting information, it's another thing actually doing something with the information. So if I look at the way sort of some of our really successful clients have used the feedback is, let's run through one or two use cases. A number of our customers are getting feedback in contact centers, in big areas in their contact centers. And the reality with contact centers in large businesses is that they're big cost centers. They work on metrics like cost per minute, so how much rand it costs them per minute to service their customers in their contact center. And obviously, if you've got a customer that's unhappy, their call is taking longer. They may be repeat calling, so they may be calling back because they didn't get the issue resolved first time round, and it becomes this massive cost burden on an organization. So if you understand that you're getting feedback from a client as to why immediately after a call as to whether the issue was resolved or it wasn't resolved, and how satisfied they were with the level of experience that they had during the call. And then you overlay that, we've had these clients then overlaying that with operational metrics, looking at average call handling time and per call, even looking at the agent and the agent's training. So agent A has had certain levels of training and agent B has had other levels of training, and how satisfied are customers with A compared to B. and then figuring out how to optimize that. So what training do we need in a contact center to reduce the cost per call? So reduce the handling time, increase first call resolution, so solve people's problems first time, and then increase the customer satisfaction, so that customer is not only just going to reduce calls in the contact center, but stay with the company for longer. So we like to measure our success in our clients, not with a fuzzy metric like an improved customer satisfaction score, but we like to measure it based on the success of financial metrics. So what's the improved customer lifetime value that you're getting from your individual customers? What's the increased spend that you're getting from your customers, and the reduced costs? So if I look at some of our big contact centers, and we've had one contact center in South Africa save over 4 million rand a year in one contact center that was only housing 20 people in that contact center. They rolled it out to a contact center that was servicing, I think there were 400 people in that contact center, getting customer feedback, operationalizing that feedback, and turning that into optimized operations and training in the contact center. Within the next 12-month period, they saved $4 million across the year just by operationalizing customer experience data. So I think our view is not to have a smiley face metric. It's about having a rands and cents metric. And that's what counts to the businesses we deal with. Businesses that we deal with are generally large organizations, listed businesses in South Africa that generally have business to consumer dealings. So we're a B2B business that generally services companies that are servicing a B2C market. And the likes of the banks, the insurance companies, the telcos, Standard Banks, Vodacoms, the MTNs. Yeah.
And Andrew, what do you see is the difference between the companies that really operationalize the feedback really well and actually have resulting improvement in customer experience, and the ones that don't? Is there anything that you've kind of learned where companies that are customer centric and actually can operationalize, and those that just waste it?
I think it's the strategic direction that the company is going down, and where they are on their growth path as an organization, and also how competitive and mature their industry is. So for instance, if I look at the telecommunications market that we started servicing 12 years ago, there was so much market to acquire at the time that customer experience really wasn't that important, because there was still so much market to acquire that if they lost a few customers, there were another 10 waiting at the door to enter the game of mobile phones. So in mature industries, people are understanding that they need to start competing for customers based on service and experience, whereas in new industries, there's still a lot of market to address. So we find companies that are operating in these mature markets are operationalizing customer experience a lot more. That's the one. And then the other one is just the attitude of management and top management, Paul. It's sort of if top leadership of the C-suite takes customer experience seriously and understands that a leading indicator of customer experience and customer satisfaction can result in an outcome that makes their business more profitable, then those companies invest in it, and they do need to invest. It's not that this just happens overnight. You've got to change the way you're servicing your customers. You've got to interpret the feedback, and you've got to make some difficult decisions in the business as to how you're handling customers. So I think it comes down a lot down to the way that the C-suite sees how their business can compete, and some of them understand that customer experience is a differentiator, and if they don't, then unfortunately it's a difficult needle to move.
All right. Okay, cool. So I know you're a B2C product that works on customer experience, but you sell B2B. How do you think about eating your own dog food, just with regards to very practical stuff that you do to ensure that you give a great B2B customer experience?
Yeah. So it's a good question. So as you say, eating our dog food is where it starts. Sort of, I think, having a finger on the pulse of every experience. And it's difficult in a B2B space because you're dealing with the same clients on a day-to-day basis. They're using your support desk, they're engaging with your team. So you can't be surveying every transaction. So in a B2B space, it makes it a bit more complex, because you can't just be firing up a survey every time somebody calls you or drops you an email. So we're a lot more strategic in the way that we survey our clients. We get feedback from them. So every ticket, for instance, that the client logs with us has feedback after the ticket. And then we do regular sort of quarterly relationship surveys with our clients. And then we interpret that result. So that's the one from customer feedback. And we obviously use our tools to do that. And the other one is looking at operational data. So a big thing for us is that there are often indicators that indicate the health of customer success in a B2B space long before you ask the customer if they're happy or not. Things like how they're using your software. Are they logging in? Are they engaging with your platform? How many escalations are they closing? How many surveys are they doing on a monthly basis? And those are operational metrics that we've identified are lead indicators of customer success and customer satisfaction in our space. So looking at all of that and being proactive about changing the way customers feel about our service or our product based on the way that we interpret their operational actions on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's made a big difference for us, is it's being proactive. And I think that's the big thing that everybody is looking for in customer experiences. It's one thing if you tell somebody you're unhappy and they do something about it. It's another thing if somebody knows that you're unhappy before you tell them and they do something about it before you tell them. It makes a world of difference. So that's what we try to do in our space.
And with regards to those lead metrics, do you have a process if you're struggling with engagement to really increase the engagement of a customer? Like how do you do that in the B2B world?
I think it's a little bit easier than in the B2C world, Paul, because we've got personal relationships with our clients. It's not like we've got 10,000 clients. We've got very personal relationships through our customer success managers with those clients. So as soon as we see an operational metric start to lag, it's very easy for one of the CSMs or even myself to get onto a call with the clients, understand what they're not getting, what they are getting, and solve the problem very quickly. So I think it's a matter of just having a very good personal relationship with key stakeholders at the client.
Cool. And then on the sending into the B2B sales, you mentioned you have a decent number, I think over 50 clients in South Africa. How have you gone about basically landing a bunch of those relationships? What have been the big lessons learned? I think a lot of people obviously struggle with the initial meetings and then obviously the slow sales cycle. So any practical lessons that you've learned around closing 50 large corporate accounts? I mean, that's pretty impressive for anyone.
It's I think it's about understanding the market, and what we've done is recently we've started selling in European markets too, and it's very different. And why it's very different is because our pool of addressable market in South Africa is exceptionally small. We're selling to the sort of cream of the crop in South African business to consumer companies. So insurance companies, banks, telecommunications companies. That's sort of what, and hospitality, a bit of retail. So we have maybe 100 to 300, or probably about 300 addressable companies in South Africa that we can target, and that's very different to places like the US, where that pool is a lot bigger. So with our global sales strategy is big inside sales teams that are making hundreds of phone calls a day to target clients. In South Africa, that market's a lot smaller, and it's based on a lot more on relationships and referrals and who you know and how they can get you in the door. So initially when we started, we had no networks, no referrals. So it was a matter of just making literally hundreds of phone calls a day, trying to knock down doors to find the right people to speak to and setting up meetings. And it was just an absolute slog just to get through to the right people. And then it started to get easier as we started to have use cases or referenceable clients that we could use in sales pitches. It started to become a lot easier. We started to be able to build credibility on that. And then we've done things like we've gotten global recognition for the success of our software. So we've been reviewed by Gartner. Gartner's put us on their cool vendors list, which helped us a lot. Suddenly you walk into a room and suddenly you've got some credibility because Gartner reviewed your software and rated it highly. So those are also small tricks that we had. But the rest of it, Paul, there's unfortunately no silver bullet that I've picked up with enterprise sales. It's hard work. It's knocking down the doors. It's leveraging relationships where you can, and it's just about tenacity. Just sticking to it. It's a long sales cycle. You've got to have stomach for it.
Andrew, any advice on the getting into Gartner? Was that something that they just picked up, or did it something you actively worked on?
Yeah, so we did actively work on it. We knew that it was something that we wanted to do to help position ourselves as we started to move into the global market, and we had no reputation and no track record there. So we thought that would be a good start. And it was just a matter of really understanding so the Gartner, if they've got magic quadrants, they've always got criteria as to what they're assessing that magic quadrant's about, sort of on. And we got hold of that. We got hold of them. And we just made sure that we started ticking those boxes. So, sort of, are we delivering the functionality and the features and the engagement levels that they expect from their top companies. And over 2 years, we really just made sure that we ticked as many of those boxes as possible. And then we got onto their radar. We got a couple of our clients to call Gartner to ask them about smoke. Just sort of a bit of a hack, sort of created a little bit of sort of background noise that smoke is a company that they should be looking at and reviewing. And eventually they got hold of us. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic, eh?
Yeah.
Is there actually a thing where you can go approach them and actually have a chat with someone?
Yeah.
So you just hit them up on the website and go meet with them. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Just then, you've now recently gone international. It's a common one. We've had a number of members succeeding at it and other ones struggling in the Civitas community. What's your experience been around going international? Which markets have you tried to target? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What have you learned?
So what I have learned is you've got to be really, really focused on your goal, and you need to know what you want to achieve, and you've got to go hell bent for leather at doing it. So we had tried to go international 5 or 6 years ago, and it was quite an ad hoc approach. We sponsored a couple of conferences over in the UK, and we went around and we flew in, and I was flying in every 3 months, or maybe even closer, it was probably every 2 months, to go and meet more people, close more deals. In our space, you've got to have boots on the ground. You've got to have people there that understand the network, that have got a network, that understand how the local network buys, and you've got to be available for them, same as our clients here expect us to be available for them, just about 24/7. If they can make a meeting tomorrow, you've got to be able to make that meeting. It has become a lot easier now with Zooming and with Teams calls, and this being the way of the world. But at the time, we weren't in country, we weren't at the conferences, we weren't in the networks, the local networks, and we just got looked over all the time. So I think what I've learned is if you're going to do it, you can't do it half-assed. It's a very competitive space. Global market is a lot more competitive than South Africa. So you've got to go in there, you've got to make a stink, and you've got to commit to it and invest, whether that be investing as a founder going overseas. I think that's a mistake that I made. I think I probably should have positioned myself overseas a long time ago. But what we've done is we've invested in a really strong direct sales team now, based in the UK, and they're servicing the UK and the US market, and that's starting to have better traction. But we had to make the investment.
Did you launch both markets at the same time, or how did you choose?
No. So we've launched the US through a partner. And they bringing leads in through us, and that's very much ad hoc, but it's good because even though we're focusing on the UK market and actively building that pipeline, the US built pipeline through the partners, building ad hoc, and it's building credibility and relationships and understanding and learning of the market on a sort of a much less frantic and much less frantic way. So we've got the ability to learn, so that when we do want to launch in the US, we want to launch hard there. We've at least got a lot of market knowledge, and we've got some credibility because we'll have maybe 10, 15 clients under our belt by then.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, good luck with that. And then the final thing I wanted to chat a little bit about was you becoming an angel investor. At Abrai, you mentioned that you had 1 or 2 very successful investments. I just wanted you to share a little bit about your story. We super keen to try help grow the angel market in the country. We know how tough it is for a lot of early stage founders locally, with a very small VC market. We'd love to just share your experiences, your wins, your lessons learned on venture capital, on angel investing locally.
Yeah, so it was. I think I got involved in it because one of my big passions is the early stages of business. I love the hustle of young businesses, when you're really sort of just trying to find a market, find a fit, put a product together. And it's really, I feel I'm better at that than I am at sort of leading a mature business through the next stages of growth. And I really feel that that's where my skill set is, in the early stages. So for years, sort of just being somebody who likes to get involved and help entrepreneurs, not on any formal manner, but just, sort of coffees and workshops, helping them sort of navigate the mistakes that I've made and not make the same mistakes. And I think just through those networks, I started coming across some businesses that I really liked, and not just liked the businesses, but liked the founders. And I think that was more important than liking the businesses. If you've got a clever founder, and all the literature talks to this, as long as the guy's not got his head in the clouds with some sort of idea out of the 1960s, if he's clever and he's ambitious and he's going to work hard, the chances of him pivoting and finding something that there is going to be a fit for is pretty high. So I found 1 or 2 guys that I just really liked. I liked their business ideas, and they were really hardworking, really ambitious, sort of ruthless type guys. And I think that's maybe what I find is you've got to be slightly ruthless as an entrepreneur that's going to cut it in a market like this. And I made a couple of investments, very small investments early on, and a couple of them have been really, really successful. A couple of them haven't. So, I think that's the game of angel investing. I found a very interesting shift over the last couple of years where it virtually feels as though that angel investing market has disappeared, and people have gone from expecting a valuation of 2 million rand for their business, within the first year, to expecting a valuation of $5 million for their business in the first year. So it's an interesting shift that I found in the last couple of years, which is, I don't know if it's good for the South African market. I don't know. You'd have a lot more opinion on that than me, but yes, I think my view, I got involved in it because I just loved young early businesses. I wasn't going out looking to start an angel investment fund or to do it. It was just something I had a little bit of money in the bank account. And I liked the ideas, and I liked the guys running it, and I put some money in, and that's my approach. So I don't have any very structured approach to say I need to make X number of investments, and my horizon is ABC. My capital is very patient capital. So, I'm not looking for a return overnight. It's long-term stuff. And it's just because it gives me an opportunity to go sit with clever people and have good conversations and help them grow their business. And then if they win, then there's some nice equity upside for me, I suppose. So that's my view on this.
Awesome, eh? And then Andrew, what's your view on sort of the structuring of early stage seed deals? So I know a lot of people have tried safe notes. They get laughed at in South Africa. Yeah, have you got any opinions on sort of what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do as an angel, and what do you think is sort of a good or bad deal?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm very opinionated on safes as an investor, and I think they're terrible as an early stage investor in South Africa. It's my opinion, but if you look at a safe as an angel investor, you're taking all the risk early on. It's maybe a series closer to Series A. Maybe it makes a bit more sense, but the guys are looking at issuing safes at a 20% discount. I can put my money in the S&P 500 and the Vanguard and get 40% for the last 2 years. So why would I go and take the risk of putting it into a safe that's going to give me a 20% discount on first raise? So I know that my upside is limited to a 20% for the first year. So it's just, I really don't like them, especially for angel investing. I've just made an investment now through a safe. I did it just because I like the industry. It's in the NFT space, and I wanted to get involved in the industry, just so I can, if I've got some skin in the game, it gives me reason to read more blogs and listen to more podcasts about it. So it gets me interested. But I just don't like the structure of a safe as an early round investor for myself. I would rather get in much earlier and take equity and get more involved in the slug of the business. That's where my personal preference is.
Awesome. Any advice you would give founders looking to work with different angels on selecting investors, as opposed to if they've they're in the position where they've actually got some to choose from, and how they can make their investors work for them?
I think it's really important, and I've just seen this in a business I invested in about 3 months ago. I co-invested with a number of people, and I've seen how much noise some of the co-investors have made because they don't necessarily understand the industry. They have an opinion as to how something should be run, and now suddenly everybody's giving an opinion. So I think understanding your investors, if you've got the luxury of being able to choose between various investors, I think it's important that you aligned on a values point of view. You understand how you both realizing or want to realize value, and make it very clear as to where guidance is required and where it's not required. I think it's very important, and I think that values portion is really important. When you start having ethical conversations around how you should be growing a business with an investor, because your investor is more sort of, I suppose, aggressive than what you are, it starts to become a really difficult conversation. So I think it's important to have somebody who's going to be aligned. Look for somebody who can add value in your space. So what I've always said to a couple of founders now who are looking for investors is try to find an investor in your board that's done it before. So has done what you want to do in an industry that's similar to yours and was successful. And if you've got an investor that's got those three sort of tick boxes, and they've got some money in their bank account that can help you grow, I think that's great. And then obviously an opportunity to have a bigger network. So look for an investor who's got a network, because you may want to raise again. They may not want to participate or have the ability to participate, but they need to have the network to be able to make the intros for that next stage investment. I think that's important.
Awesome. And Andrew, final question. resources, coaches, books, articles that have probably had the biggest impact on you as a founder, a CEO, and on the business? Any ideas that have been real game changers for you?
Yeah, there are a number. I'm just opening up my library here. I think the one thing that's really stood out for me lately, Paul, is the people that you have make all the difference. And one, they've got to align to who you are. You've got to be able to work with them, especially with a founder with a young team. With a small team, you've got to gel as such a good unit, and having the right or the same levels of energy is really important. So that's good. So the one book that I would recommend everybody reads, it's a book that's maybe not as common as all the sort of standard books that everybody should read, talks about, like the Jordan Belfords, but it's a book called It's All About Who You Hire and How They Lead. I just want to get you the author. It's an amazing book about.
No stress.
About
I'll put it in the link afterwards. So
yeah. So I think
awesome. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, and there are a lot of books. I mean, sort of everybody talks about scale up and about Vern Harnish and blitz scaling, and it's just, those are all great books. But I think what I've realized is having the right people. If you've got the right people and they're intelligent, they're going to make the right decisions and they're going to solve the big problems. So it's about people.
Brilliant. Awesome, Andrew. Thank you so much for your time.
Cool. Thanks for the chat. Good.
Cool, man.
Keep up.